Well, we do have the province with us in the studio to respond to some of these issues being raised by the local residents in those communities. MEC, Motlalepula Rosho joining us at Northwest Finance MEC. MEC, good to have you. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Thabo, and good evening to the viewers at home.
Well, you heard the people. They said province must come and answer and tell us what is going on in this municipality. Let's start here first. What we do know generally as practice in government, I don't know if it has changed, is that government doesn't pay until the job is complete. Am I correct?
Yes, government doesn't pay until the job is complete, but it depends on the project. Remember, in terms of projects, when it's implemented according to phases, you would also, in terms of the contract agreement, be able to pay in line with that contract agreement. And I must indicate that as Provincial Treasurer, we've done intensive training for about 2.5 years to all our municipal officials in the province in terms of contract agreement, contract management, and also looking into the conditions of the contract. So that as and when they pay, they must be able to align with the contract. They must be guided by the contract in terms of whether there's value for money in terms of what they have to pay.
Right. What we do know, though, for sure, and this is something that was also conducted by the Human Rights Commission, including the legislature conducting oversight, is that in the province there are currently 76 unfinished housing projects. It was even confirmed for us by the Premier himself, where he made a commitment to say in this financial year he's going to build 5,000 houses to deal with that backlog. How do we get to that point where you have so many unfinished housing projects? Look,
over time there has been challenges of human settlement. Remember when we started in 1994, part of the functions of housing delivery was with the local government, whereby tranche payments were done to various municipalities, and some of these municipalities did not have capacity. So this is part of the backlogs of the housing delivery that we are talking about. But also, as and when projects were being approved, where houses needs to be built, you realize that some of the areas are dolomitic. And in dolomitic area, you are not being able to build. Inspectors would also come and get advice. And as a result of that, you need to look into other ways of relocating some of the other communities. So there has been a number of block projects, yes, we admit, but we as provincial government, we have a plan. We've started also to do those interventions. Department of Human Settlement, led by MEC Malloy, they've already started to appoint, put some of the contractors on site to make sure that those projects are concluded. But you start the process of making sure to do the verification, you do the assessment, and you ensure that where there's dolomitic areas, at least we are able to relocate some of the community. But there must be also stakeholder consultation and engagement with the communities, because you need to consult them, they need to agree, they need to be relocated. Yes, there are challenges, we do admit, but there is intervention.
Let's talk a little bit about specifics. Dr. Ruth Mumpati District Municipality, the Majahoro project, which has been blocked, that particular housing project, why? In fact, they're saying in some instances for over 9 years that it's been sitting and not progressing.
Yes, I've explained to you that some of the challenges that we have on block projects is as a result of the tranche payment that used to previously be done as we started in 1990. But as and when legislation actually was strengthened, you have your MFMA and then also powers and functions where you get your municipalities not being given those powers to implement the projects. That's why the Department of Human Settlement was actually
but
also
let's be specific, MEC. Yes. Let's talk about this. You paid 58 million, I'm told, from the numbers. This project was supposed to have delivered 431 housing units. It only completed 233. What exactly is the reason why 198 were not completed?
That's what I'm saying to you. This is part of the challenges that in terms of the houses, commitments that have been made, but also over time. Remember, we also have a responsibility as government to conduct oversight of our own contractors. And I think that's why the department is doing assessment in some of these projects so that we make sure that they get implemented. So those challenges are there, and we are intervening as provincial government. And Human Settlement has started to put a number of other contractors on site, because also sluggish implementation of projects by contractors. Human Settlement has terminated some of these contractors
Yeah.
And they have now appointed new contractors to fast-track the services to our communities.
Yeah.
So there
you're saying part of the reason here is a sluggish contractor, and you have failed to hold that contractor to account in terms of consequence management.
Those contractors will be held accountable. That's why they've been terminated. That's why issues of contract management, we need to tighten that as officials, as different departments, as and when we implement the project. So there will be consequence management. We have to follow the money. We must also be able to test the value for money. Yeah. Because these are public funds. You can't just agree that you terminate the contract and there are no consequences. So the Department of Human Settlement is in the process of making sure that all those remedial actions have been followed through.
Yeah. But the residents saying you're taking too long. In fact, this is what they're saying. You are neglecting these unfinished projects. Assessments remain pending. Why are the assessments taking so long?
Assessment may remain pending, but the fact of the matter is we need to go through the remember, if you've appointed someone and when you terminate him, there are processes that you also have to follow. You know, the turnaround time might have taken long, but at the end of the day, there is a process that has been followed. Budget has to also be allocated. You need also to do application for variation orders. If you have to do that, that has to be assessed by also Provincial Treasury and also the line sector department to make sure that we are able to provide that support from a resource management point of view. So it has taken long, yes, but at the moment as we speak, I'm confident that by the end of this financial year, we'll be able to complete the projects in Majapahla.
With us, the Northwest Finance MEC, Motlalepula Rosho, and she is with us in the studio discussing, of course, some of the issues that Refilwe Sobukwe has been covering at least in the last 2 days, but quite honestly for the last couple of months actually that she has been looking at. And one particular project that we looked at there is the one in the Maribogopan village, a community hall. The first time we covered this story was around April this year. Mm-hmm. The hall at that time was a disaster. In fact, it was a wreck. The roof was not there. It was just dilapidated. And they said it has been like that since 2019. It's a little bit better now when I look at the pictures that we were showing. So which means in the last 6 months, some work has actually happened there. But still, the community says the handover has not been done. The borehole is dysfunctional. There is no electricity, but money has been paid.
Yes, Thabo. I think what we have agreed with as provincial government in areas that there's been such reports, MEC for Contractor will work with the MEC for Provincial Treasury. Look, in Provincial Treasury, we have a unit that is responsible for infrastructure. And what we are doing now, we are no longer only focusing on provincial projects. We are also going into local sphere of government, following through some of the infrastructure projects, whether in terms of planning, have they been done accordingly? Because part of the challenges in local government, but broadly also in the most of our municipalities, is challenges of capacity. Challenges where planning is a problem. So if you don't plan properly, you're obviously not able to implement the project accordingly. So issues of value for money, we are following through. And from a provincial treasury point of view, what we are doing, working together with SALGA, working together with Contractor, we do continuous engagement with various municipalities. And specifically for provincial, we assess even state of functionality of how finances are being run, how are they being managed, are they implementing projects, and making sure that in terms of their plans, they're able to implement that accordingly. And that has been a challenge. And that is why, as provincial government, through our Premier, Tate Bushimape, he actually pronounced the Accelerated Service Delivery Program, whereby the acting Premier, MEC Malloy, our acting Premier, Tate Malloy, actually amplified it, intensified that program, and we called it Tunzarolo. And part of why we are running through Tunzarolo program, whereby every Friday we visit every municipality, is to ensure that we conduct this oversight. We also interact with our communities to get feedback as to whether municipalities are providing the services that they are supposed to be providing, the commitments that they have made. Remember, municipalities in our province or across the country, they do IDP consultation. They make commitments that will build a hall, will be able to bring so many boreholes. But part of our challenges across the board, it has been some of municipalities, they did these commitments, but they don't have the budget. The budget that they adopt is unfunded. Yeah. But in the case of of Rako is not one of the municipalities that have financial challenges. The challenges in Rako from 2019, there has been unstable council, where councillors have just not been able to be focusing on the right path in terms of implementing their SDP BEP annually, and also that instability also finds itself in administration, whereby you found that if you go back into Rako, the MM has been now and then in the courts, has been suspended. At some point, it was under intervention of Section 139 of the Constitution, whereby it's a discretionary intervention through the MEC for Contractor. There was a closeout report that was given, and part of the challenges outside in terms of that closeout report is issues of leadership. Administrative leadership. Where there is no substantive managers, where there is no leadership, you'd always have this type of challenge. And this has been our diagnosis in terms of the assessment that we've made in most of our municipalities. Yeah. That is a challenge.
And what are you doing? Because when we had the MEC the Minister for Contractor, I beg your pardon, with us, we also spoke to Salga about this question of what province must do when they sit and they are looking at local government and there is capacity issues. How are you supporting and reinforcing those gaps in municipality?
Part of the supporting programs that we are doing jointly with Contractor, firstly, we must make sure that our municipalities start to appoint people who are qualified, people who have capacity to provide that administrative leadership at a strategic level. I think that is not negotiable. And that is what Contractor is doing now. They've started to do the skills audit in terms of the capacity of all municipalities. And we have now partnered with the Northwest University, whereby we've already deployed 100 graduates across the province, where they work in different line functions, departments, to provide support to the municipalities. And I think it is a good start, because we now want to professionalize a local government. We want to build a culture of professionalism within local government, but also the culture shift. We are moving towards that, because we started to have a developmental capacity programs through Treasury, whereby we focus on the BTO in municipalities where there are in financial crisis. By the way, we have about 11 municipalities that are in financial crisis, and 8 of them, the Minister of Finance already directed the Executive Council to implement financial recovery plans. So we've already appointed about 8 provincial EXCO representatives who are assisting municipalities to implement the financial recovery plan. By the way, it's in line with the Constitution, because if you like your Section 1395 in terms of intervention, you must read it in its entirety, because Section 1395 of the Constitution speaks to provincial treasury, national treasury with provincial treasury, assisting municipality with mandatory intervention, whereby we must implement the financial recovery plan, and it's in line with the MFMA of the Section 138, 139 of MFMA.
So I'm not saying you need to do the same, but for example, we have spoken
support. I'm talking to the support.
To the Gauteng Treasury, MEC saying he's actually sending officials who are almost working hand in hand with municipalities.
Yes, that's what we are doing. That's what we are doing in municipalities that I'm talking about. We are working together with Contractor. We are working with MISA. We're working with DCOC at national level and national treasury, where we've put a multidisciplinary team that goes into those municipalities to go and provide that support. But also, when you provide that support, we said that we must have a program whereby we do an assessment of the capacity and skills, because even if you go there, if you unplug, the municipality collapses. So now we need to start a program, an integrated program, whereby Contractor is doing their skills audit now. We look into some of the training needs that are required, and how to work with MISA and SALGA as well in capacitating our council. By the way, part of the responsibility of the council is to ensure that they hold administration accountable. They must also do their oversight, and they must be decisive in terms of the resolutions that they make, in terms of where there are challenges of non-implementation of service of IDP of the plans, whereby service delivery must actually be translated in terms of impact that we see on the ground.
But the people on the ground would be listening to us, and they are saying to us, good and well, MEC, these are great interventions at your level, but what we want to see now in Ratlo is that community hall finished. When is it going to be finished? 2, I think the road between Chabeng and Madibo-Khopan, which the design apparently was paid for, 2 million rands, was budgeted for at 15 million. What has happened to that money? And the original money that would have been set aside in terms of the tender for rebuilding that road apparently was 7 billion. What's happening? When are those project's going to be finished?
We'll have to verify the issue of the 7 billion. Yeah. I think where I am, I would really commit that we would want to go and verify whether is it the 7 billion that was committed in terms of money that was going to be allocated. Yes, the road project in Madibogo-Popane has not been completed, but with the accelerated service, with Thunzalurule program, Public Works had made commitments, because remember, we are also operating as a district development, in a district development approach, whereby the district development model is implemented. So we are leveraging on that. Public Works also had its own plans, so we have integrated the two plans. But when they started to look into the route that Public Works is doing, is going to build, then they had already done their design. So they had to they paid professional fees for the designs, not for the road. Now, what I'm saying to you that as Provincial Treasury with Contractor will do that assessment to check whether the money has been, the other money that has been not spent, has it been redirected to other projects. Remember, it's allowed by legislation. When you have a project, if the other project there's a augmentation from provincial government, at least you can redirect, because the resources are very thin on the ground.
Wouldn't that then make the claim that the residents are saying valid, that you are postponing the tasks, meaning that you're not prioritizing the building of that road, where you would take the remainder of that budget and put it elsewhere?
But Thabo, the project in terms of Public Works is part of the plans. And when Public Works intervenes through Thunzalurule, because we are accelerating service delivery, there's nothing wrong. As long as the municipality, in terms of their plans, they are able to redirect during adjustment and make sure that this is one of the areas that we can live, because at least they are leveraging on the resources from provincial government. Remember, Rato is a grant-dependent municipality. So if government comes in and to assist and provide that support on such routes, I think that should be appreciated. But what needs to do, the monitoring and evaluation to ensure that money goes to the right projects should be done. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying that where we are as Provincial Treasury, working together with Contractor, we'll follow through this process and make sure that we do that assessment, because we have that unit in our Provincial Treasury Department on infrastructure, and we visit all infrastructure projects, because we need to assess but what we allocate to provincial departments in terms of infrastructure is actually being followed through. And you know, there's this infrastructure development management system that also we are trying to introduce in our municipalities, so that they start to follow through in terms of your planning, in terms of making sure that the implementation of the project, in terms of the plans that they have planned in terms of implementation, but also there must be value for money. But what is also important, when you have councillors, what councillors must know, the project that comes within their wards, they must continuously interact with their communities. Public participation is important, because you must keep constant contact with your communities in terms of the development that is happening within those communities. And through Thunzalurule program, the Premier has pronounced that we expect councillors go to their wards, continue to keep abreast with the projects, the developments, continue to interact with their communities, and they must run Thunzalurule at the municipal level in different odds on daily basis, because that's what they are supposed to be doing on daily basis.
What are the pillars of Thunzalurule that give you so much confidence that these things will be prioritized? Or what are you putting within that program that brings about the urgency?
Let me just, maybe let me start with Provincial Treasury. When we get into Thunzalurule program as Provincial Treasury, what we do, we go into the municipality, we look into the functionality of the budget and treasury offices. We look into their skills, we look into their revenue strength, we look into their plans, whether are they your income and expenditure and to the entire financial health. But when you do that assessment, actually it also looks into other 4 pillars of local government: your institutional capacity, your governance structures, whether your MPAC is functional, your UIFW has it been processed in accordance with the legislation, has it been lodged through the office of the Speaker, is resolutions of council being implemented. So we are looking into that, because finally that ecosystem must be able to enhance service delivery.
Well, we hear that sometimes recommendations of MPAC are ignored by mayors. The MPAC would sit there, come up with good plans. Mayors will just ignore them. What are you going to do to ensure that they actually stick to them?
We are now strengthening even capacity of our MPACs. We are in this current administration. I can share with you, Thabo, the work that we've done, investment that we are making in supporting MPACs. in making sure that we strengthen our unpacks. And we have also, during the Thabo program, we've realized that there are deficiencies, there are still grey areas. So we need to have that continuous capacity building. And part of the interventions that we are doing, we have now applied the principle or the approach that is being done by your provincial public accounts committees. Public accounts committees at the province in the legislature, when you have, they are going to call any department to come and account. Yeah. The Auditor General will come for 2 hours to come and brief the portfolio committees. Now, what we are doing through provincial treasury, because we have now appointed district directors with some support members, 5, 6 officials for each and every district as a provincial treasurer in terms of our structure. We have agreed that they must give us their schedule of meetings. Before that MPEG sits, we must take them through the briefing, but they must send us the items that they are going to discuss. We take them through the briefing so that they are able to write the correct questions. Part of the training through the Newzroom that we are doing, we are also assisting them on how to draft their resolutions in terms of taking them to council. Because the resolutions must be watertight, because also you must work with your disciplinary boards. You should be able to work with the disciplinary board. Where there's issues of disciplinary process needs to be followed, you need to have a very consolidated report, watertight, that can be able to assist that there must be consequences. So that's the work that we are doing as provincial government. Let's hear what your people are saying here
on WhatsApp. Good evening. I just want to disagree with your guest. This is a total lie. At Khopane, the houses there are not finished and we are struggling with water. Let us agree that they failed rural people. Ulibile Malope in Khopane, Ziras. Yeah. Thabo saying, Thabo, it's typical of the corrupt ANC government. They waste taxpayers' money, then turn around and say, we are doing this or going to do that. Long after the horse has bolted, taxpayer money was wasted. What do you say to them?
In Khopane, Tunsaluruli, we are going to Ziras. We will Ramusere this Friday. We will be there, and I think some of the allegations that have been made will follow them through. But like I said, Human Settlement has a plan. They have started to intervene. Issues of water, yes, there are challenges of water, but there's intervention through the district in Ziras. So that program is still unfolding. There has been, through the executive mayor, working with the local mayor in making sure that they sign those agreements in terms of how do they do the interventions. And by the way, we have launched Operation Bulela Metsi as a province, where we work with the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister Mdluli. And he's our champion together with the Premier and the relevant MEC Contractor. So with us it's a bonus. Acting Premier is still the MEC for Human Settlement, the local government. So it's part of that Operation Bulela Metsi. So through the Operation Bulela Metsi, there will be intervention in Khopane. And I can share with you, we'll go to there in Ramusere on Friday. And we don't go on Friday, by the way. We have started the work already since Monday in making sure that when we get on Friday, we make that feedback, we make commitment in terms of budget that is being allocated to make sure that there is intervention. Though there is intervention in Ramusere, yes, in Khopane has been mentioned, but I know that there is project. Look, when you implement the project, when you intervene, in some areas, you would not do it overnight because you also have challenges where you drill your boreholes. Some of the boreholes, there's no water where you drill your borehole. Right. So I think we must appreciate that with Tunsaluruli, we've intensified our service delivery machinery. We're interacting with our communities. We keep constant contact, and that is why we are now also, through the Office of the Premier, we are strengthening the monitoring and evaluation unit, whereby we follow through on Tunsaluruli itself, because we want also to assess the effectiveness and impact thereof, and following through some of the projects that are outstanding.
Got to take a break, but let me thank you very much, MEC, for coming in. We are following that very carefully. You know, Refilo is on the ground, so yes, if nothing is happening, she'll come back to us and tell us, and we're going to have to bring you back and hold you to account on some of these issues.
Yes, well, thank you very much for holding us accountable on behalf of our communities, but we'll continue to accelerate service delivery and change the lives of our communities out there. We are committed as provincial government, as a collective of EXCO, together with our mayors in different municipalities, that will surely accelerate the service to our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Right, let's take a break. When we continue here on In Focus, the KwaZulu government makes a U-turn on plans to host the 29th South African Music Awards after widespread criticism over the large bill. Is this President Ramaphosa cracking the whip on corruption?